Starting us off with number 10 is the Wild Hunt, and this one is borderline ancient. The first account of the Wild Hunt was back in 1127 when a historical document revealed this. Many men both saw and heard a great number of huntsmen hunting. The huntsmen were black, huge and hideous, and rode on black horses and on black he-goats, and their hounds were jet black with eyes like saucers and horrible, end quote. Apparently the huntsmen were sinners while they were alive, and so the nightly exercise was just part of their punishment, and if them on their own isn't scary enough, they were also accompanied by demons. Lone travelers would get taken by the whole group of them and dragged to the literal pits of hell, which I am not here for, by the way. I don't know about you personally, but personally that's not my vibe. Personally. I don't speak for everyone. Coming in at number 9 is Red Cap. So a bit of a history lesson for you. England and Scotland were at war for far too long back in the day, and that made the Anglo-Scottish border a dangerous place to be. Raiders from both countries would go and commit crimes on the other side of the border and come back and not be punished for it. And with horrible people, there are also horrible creatures. Red Cap was an evil creature that took the form of an old man with iron shoes. He had long pointed teeth, and you already know that doesn't sit well with me, red eyes, talon-like fingers, and long hair. And the cherry on top was his red hat. Red Cap would ravage all the abandoned castles along the border, hunting for bodies left behind from the war, and use their blood to dye his cap. And if he didn't find any bodies, he'd just wait around and kill an unlucky passerby. Apparently the only way to defeat him is to either brandish a crucifix or recite biblical scripture, after which he should scream and disappear into a ball of fire, and if he doesn't, well, don't quote me on that. No cap. I had to do it. Come on, this is me, I had to do it. Chris is like, yeah. At number 8, we have the Vampires of Burton-on-Trent. No folklore video is ever complete without the mention of some kind of vampires or another. According to an old Anglo-Saxon chronicle, there were 2 peasants in Burton-on-Trent that had died, yet were seen walking around town with their coffins on their backs. They would knock on people's doors, calling out their names, and whoever was called upon would very quickly fall sick and die. Now, suspicious, the villagers decided to open up the coffins of the 2 men to see the corpses were completely undecayed and their mouths were covered with cloths drenched in blood. Being like, absolutely not, the villagers then beheaded the corpses, cut their hearts out, and burned the bodies. Good going, guys, I would have done the same. 2 black birds were seen emerging from the fire, and after that point the men were never seen again. I honestly feel like Twilight and the Vampire Diaries has really ruined vampires for me. I always have to remind myself they're not like Edward Cullen or the Salvatore brothers, they're like this. Don't fall in love with them. It's not cute. Let's not romanticize vampires. Let's cancel that culture right now. Starting now. Filling on our 7th slot is Cutty Dyer. Now the legend of Cutty Dyer goes way back to at least 1879. That's the first time this creature was talked about in local publications, and everyone had already been it for a while. This creature is said to be an ogre or a water sprite that stalked the stream of the River Yo or Ashburn, depending on the version of the story that you hear. The legend originated in the town of Ashburton, where he supposedly lived under the King's Bridge. Isn't it usually trolls that live under the bridge? What's going on? Cutty Dyer would wait around stalking and any drunkards that came by. He'd then pounce on them, drowning them and then gorging on their blood. That's appetizing. Parents used to tell his story to their kids, kind of like an ode to the boogeyman, so they'd stay away from the river. 2 people have even said to have witnessed him standing waist deep in the water, bearing shark teeth and bright glowing red eyes. Now at number 6 is Spring-Heeled Jack. Good old Jack terrorized Victorian Britain, namely London, from the 1830s onwards. First mentioned back in 1810, 3 women reported being attacked by a tall figure wearing a skin-tight black suit, long fingers, red eyes, and metal claws. Apparently he would breathe blue fire into their faces, not burning them but paralyzing them. A fear was ripe around the city, everyone was bricks, and rightfully so. Many groups even set out to find and kill Jack, but he was never caught. As he gained popularity, his attacks became few and far between because mans like to keep it low key, you know how it is. Keep it on the down low, on the DL. Like me, I'm a very low key person. Ha! Not. Coming in at number 5 is the Guy Trash. Now already the countryside of Yorkshire is pretty much deserted. The hills have a bunch of footpaths around them that people haven't used in centuries. So because of that and the major lack of signage, it's almost inevitable that one would get lost if travelling the area. The Guy Trash was said to be the most dangerous spirit to live in Yorkshire, and here I'm like, damn, there's more than one spirit? No. Looks wise, it could appear as a black horse or dog or mule with fiery red eyes. It would stalk the footpaths looking for lost travelers travelers and would then lead them further astray so they'd be even more screwed. Once the traveler was lost with no hope, the Gytrash would either disappear leaving them for dead in the dark, or it'd attack them killing them instantly. At number 4 is the Mermaid of Galloway. First mentioned back in 1810, this tale goes as follows. The Mermaid of Galloway used to live in a breathtaking burn or watercourse, and every night she would sit on a rock and locals would come to her seeking medical advice. Everything was all rainbows and butterflies, but one particular religious woman thought the mermaid was the work of the devil. She ended up pushing the mermaid's rock back into the water, and so when the mermaid appeared the next day, she was so distraught due to the lack of seat. She cried out saying, "You may look to your empty cradle and I'll look to my stain." She said more than that, but it's all in Old English so I didn't even understand it, and I figured you guys wouldn't either, and it simply wasn't relevant. The next day, the religious woman's baby was found dead in its cradle and the mermaid was never seen again. I mean, never take a woman's seat. You know what they say. No one says that, but I do. Now at number 2 is the Witch Hare of Cleveland. Not Cleveland, Ohio, we're talking Britain, baby. So this story came to light in the early 19th century. Apparently a group of farmers were out hunting hares when they ran into Nanny X, a well-known witch in the area. She told them that she would tell them where a huge hare was, but that they should not set a black dog on it to kill it. Very specific instructions, but they agreed. She then pointed out a massive brush where of course there was a hare underneath. The hare started running for the hills and of course the farmers went off after it. Just as the hare finally reached Nanny X's cottage, a massive demon hellhound appeared out of thin air, snapping the hare's legs and taking a massive bite out of its leg. Distraught, the hunters went to her cottage to apologize for letting the black dog get the hare, but when they went inside they found her half dead in bed with a massive lump out of her thigh, exactly where the hellhound had bit the hare.
Number 10, the Deer Dew. I always find it fascinating how we can find similar breadcrumbs around the world that depict legends of vampires. The Celtic depiction of the vampire is the Deer Dew, and the story behind her is heartbreaking. The Deer Dew once was a breathtaking, beautiful woman who had given her love to an innocent farm boy. But her father was greedy and arranged her to marry an abusive chieftain for wealth and land. No amount of begging could save her from her fate, and unfortunately, the marriage went through. After the wedding day, the woman fell into a deep depression, not eating or drinking until her body wasted away. Her lost love visited the grave every single day, wishing her to return, but come the year anniversary of her death, it was revenge that brought her back. She went straight to her father's bed and sucked the life from him. Not yet sated, she went of course to her brutal husband and, finding him surrounded by women in lustful acts, flew into a rage and not only sucked out his soul but drained all the blood from his body. Every year on the anniversary of her death, she rises to seduce young men before devouring their blood. So, to this day, on the anniversary of her death in Waterford, people place rocks on her grave so she cannot rise from the earth. But sometimes, if the rocks aren't heavy enough, the Deer Dew escapes, seeking to sate her bloodlust. Number 9, the Dullahan. The Dullahan is a foreboding headless horseman who's set to ride during festival days. He is said to be one of the most terrifying creatures who resides in the spirit world. Some consider him the angel of death. He rides a jet black stallion, and his flowing black cape blazes behind him while he rides. But his head does not sit on his shoulders, but is held in his hand. It is said that his eyes can see for miles at night, but the most terrifying thing about him is if you see him. If you don't avert your eyes as he rides past, you may get struck by a bucket of blood, or lose sight in one of your eyes. But beware if his steed begins to slow and approach you, for if he stops before you and calls your name, your soul will be sucked from your body. His only weakness is gold, so instead of trying to outrun him, carry a piece of gold in your pocket to ward him off. You know, just because everybody has gold, I guess. Number 8, speaking of creatures you don't want to encounter at night, next up we have the Banshee. The Banshee can appear in many forms, so some say she appears as a beautiful woman in a shroud, or a headless naked hag holding a bucket of blood. But even more terrifying than her appearance is her song. The Banshee is an omen of death and is said to appear to warn of violent death, either of a loved one or for the listener. Some Banshees even do the killing themselves, while other legends say they are spirits tied to their loved ones and sing songs of care and concern for the ones about to pass. At one time in Ireland, it was considered blasphemous not to believe in Banshees, and some older generations legends still believe to this day. Real or superstition, the legend of the Banshee is a haunting story of an inescapable fate. Number 7, Balor and the Evil Eye. Balor was a legendary ancient being who existed long before the Tuatha De Danann, a race of godlike people with supernatural powers. When Balor was a young man, he spied on his father and his druids as they performed a spell to lay waste to the land. Vapors from the spell infected his eye, enlarging it and granting it the power of death. Balor himself was said to be enormous, so large in fact that it took 4 men to lift his eyelid open for use. Whatever met his gaze would wither and die, including grass, trees, and even turn men to stone. But on the same day he was created, the druids prophesied he would be killed by his grandson. So, of course, he locked his daughter away. But of course, someone snuck in, had 3 babies with her, and though Balor drowned 2 of them, the third snuck away and finally killed him one day in battle. Number 6, the Kelpie, also known as the Nope horse. This is the creature grannies warn their grandchildren about to keep them away from the water. And no, I'm not talking about the Australian dog breed. That's adorable. Kelpies are horses that linger near rivers and bodies of water that seem harmless at first, but if you try and ride them, you will stick to them and they will drag you to the depths to consume you, like a sticky horse. But if horses don't tempt you, they also can appear as beautiful women to lure you in with their feminine wiles. Or they can appear as hairy humanoids that wait in trees and leap on unsuspecting travelers and smash them. Depictions of these creatures are absolutely terrifying, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to be dragged underwater by a very sticky horse. They can also summon up sudden floods and rapids to drown unsuspecting victims. However, Kelpies do have a weak spot. If you do find them disguised as horses, if you get a hold of their bridle, it must serve you, giving you the strength and stamina of over 10 horses. Number 5, Carmen. If you're keeping track of evil witches, make sure to add this woman to your list. Carmen was an evil witch who terrorized the land along with her 4 sons: darkness, evil, and violence. Yeah. She placed a vicious blight on the crops of Ireland until the gods of Tuatha De Danann brought their magic against her. They drove her sons across the sea and imprisoned her, but were tasked with throwing a festival in her name each year, otherwise the land would be faced with a blight. Carmen reportedly died of grief in 600 BCE, and the festival is held every 3 years on August 1st. Number 4, the Fae. If you're already a fan of Irish folklore, then you may already be familiar with imps or the Fae. And the reasons why we fear them. Fairy lore, I think, is the next vampire craze. They're mysterious, immortal, powerful, and very sexy. What else could you want? But you may want to think twice before wandering into the woods hoping for some handsome Fae man to take you away. Probably not a good idea. Anyone who knows the lore of the Fae will warn you not to take them lightly. They love to mess with mortals and are notoriously known for stealing babies in the dead of night to replace them with possessed changelings. Though they could sometimes be friendly, they often look for ways to trick you. So, if you do want to get on their good side, here are a few very important rules to follow. Number 1, do not call them fairy. It is an insult. Call them good neighbor, imp, elf, or Seelie White. Number 2, always turn your socks inside out when going for a hike. The imps will not be able to lead you astray and make you impossibly lost. Number 3, if they offer you food, deny it. It's a sure way to become trapped in the fairy realm. But like, if that's what you want, I mean, do it. Though I would expect some torment if you do, so probably don't. Number 4, never lie to them. They will never lie to you, but they have a way of twisting words. But if you want respect, you gotta give respect. Number 5, if you accept a gift, you must give one greater in return, but do not say thank you. It means you owe whatever they ask in return. And lastly, number 6, carry iron or salt with you to protect against the darker imps. Anyways, there is a couple tips for you, but if you do come across one, don't brag about it. They hate that. Number 3, the Dark Man. Now, I mentioned that some imps are mischievous and even dangerous, but there is one being even they fear, the Dark Man. He who lurks, he who stalks, the dark druid. Even whispering his name invites his attention. So let's hope I'm not in trouble here, guys. Some say he's a shadow man with malevolent powers. Others say he serves the Queen of the Cid coldly and without remorse, claiming anyone she calls for. Those he took were never heard from again. The fact that our good neighbors fear him so much is enough to say that we should too, especially considering the story of the taking of Finn's wife. The Dark Man fell in love with a beautiful woman who spurned his love, so of course he cursed her by turning her into a fawn. The only way she could be released was if she found her true love, and that she did. Once she entered the house of the wise Finn McCool, she was safe. For years they lived together until Finn went off to battle. When he returned home, he discovered that she'd been deceived and taken by the Dark Druid who appeared in his likeness. Finn never saw her again. Number 2, the Abhartach. Some may know Vlad the Impaler as the main inspiration for the character of Dracula, but considering Bram Stoker's Irish heritage, the origins of this famous villain may have been closer to home. The Irish king Abhartach ruled between Dungiven and Garva and was abhorred by his people. But despite his awful reputation, his name isn't that intimidating. It's actually an old Irish name that means deaf fellow, and many believe he was also a man of small stature. Some say he was a dwarf, others say that he just lost his legs in an accident so he was shorter. He was an evil and cruel wizard, hated and feared by his clans. He was also insanely jealous and suspected his wife of having an affair. So one night he slipped out a window and tried to peer into a room to catch her in the act, but instead he slipped and fell to his death. Yay, I guess. The people, relieved to see his demise, buried him right away, standing upright in the ground as for his kingliness he needed to be. Sitting upright in the ground, which was tradition. But the next morning, he appeared demanding bowls of blood from his people, freshly poured from their wrists. The people begged a neighboring chieftain to save them, and he tried to kill him not once, but 3 times, yet still he would appear the next morning, demanding blood. The chieftain sought the advice from a neighboring saint, and this time when he killed him, he buried him upside down, stabbed him in the heart with a stake from the yew tree, piled ash wood on top of him, and placed atop the grave a heavy stone slab. You can still visit the grave to this day, but locals still fear the sight, and some have even had very eerie experiences. Ooh. Number 1. The Slua. There's one night a year that you should fear the Slua, spirits of death who show no mercy to whoever crosses their path. The only way to dissuade them from taking your soul is if you offer up another soul in return. You may know this night as Halloween, but those who believe in Celtic folklore call it Samhain. Some say they used to be imps who became twisted and warped by dark magic. It is said they fly from the west in a dark mass, seeking souls to drag back with them into the darkness. On Samhain, fires were forbidden so as not to attract them to your door, and windows on the west side of the house were locked shut. They are also locked tight if someone in the house is ill or dying, as the Slua often delight in stealing souls before they can give their last rites. But you can also call them to you by saying their name aloud. So, like, guess I'm screwed. And with that, we end our top 10. I guess you will see what happens tonight to see if that tale is true. I hope it isn't. Wish me luck, and someone show me where to get an iron horseshoe. Good thing my window faces north, I guess.
First up at number 10, the Sasquatch. You know I had to add this one in there. It's tall, it's hairy, and nearly everyone and their neighbor claims to have witnessed the creature walking through the woods of North America. Dating back further than recorded history, this man-like ape, also commonly known as Bigfoot, is a household legend with nearly 10,000 recorded sightings throughout the United States. I mean, just a quick search and you'll literally find hundreds of photos and articles aiming to prove Bigfoot's existence. Arguably, the most famous evidence we have is Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin's 1967 film where the alleged creature is seen walking along the side of a creek in plain day, and though we still don't know if the authenticity of the photo stacks up, we've also never been truly able to debunk it entirely. Throughout the many stories of alleged sightings, including some saying they were captured and held captive by the creature, and others claiming to have been spotted the Sasquatch roaming around the woods, many scientists still attribute the sightings to either hoaxes or misidentification of known animals, usually black bears. But what do you think? Are you a believer in Bigfoot, or do you think it's all just one big lie?
In our number 9 spot today, we have Takolshi. This creature originated in South Africa, and it appears in Zulu mythology. It is said that this creature is quite short, but very frightening. What it lacks in height, it makes up for in a vertical better than Michael Jordan in his prime. Legend has it that this creature likes to jump on people's chests at night while they are sleeping so that it can steal their breath away. Aside from the whole jumping thing, it is said that this creature is also quite fast, and one random fact is that it apparently loves curdled milk, which is disgusting. So while he's stealing your breath, I guess you just have to sit there smelling his hot milk breath. 0 out of 10 trade-off. There is a way to protect yourself against him, and that is by putting your bed on high bricks. This is because if the bed is raised too high, then this malevolent being won't be able to jump up on your chest to complete its breath-stealing work.
Coming in at At number 8, we have the Canadian folklore monster, the Ogopogo. If you grew up in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, I'm sure you heard a story or two about this mythological sea creature, but could it be that there's more to the Ogopogo than we thought? The myth dates back thousands of years, with Salish indigenous people having passed along the stories about a spirit in the lake, which turned into what we now call the Ogopogo once the white settlers landed and began altering the stories. Described as a serpentine creature with smooth-like skin and a length of up to 50 feet, it's said to move at incredible speeds, using its powerful tail as a propeller to speed through the lake. The first alleged sighting dates back to 1872 by a woman named Susan Allison, who was the first white settler to live in the region, but she's not been the only one to come forward with the so-called evidence. In the 1980s, a tourist agency offered a cash reward for anyone with proof of the beast, and many flocked with pictures and videos trying to claim the reward. Then later in 2008, a photographer by the name of Sean Valoria captured several photos of something peculiar he saw in the water, which he described as having humps and measuring 18 to 20 feet long. After inspection by many local experts, they did confirm that it didn't look anything like a known animal in the lake, which definitely raised a few eyebrows. Although there wasn't enough evidence to confirm the existence of the Ogopogos, from Sean's photo, the fact that there have been hundreds of people over the years coming forward with evidence to prove the legend speaks for itself. I mean, is it really out there? Well, no one's been able to provide enough hard proof. That doesn't mean the BC locals will stop trying anytime soon.
In our number 7 spot today, we have the Banshee. The Banshee is Ireland's most well-known dark spirit that roams around the countryside wailing when death is near. The good news about this one is that she does not cause death, but rather her presence is said to foreshadow the arrival of death. She often appears as a woman with long flowing hair, wearing a green dress with a grey cloak over top, and with eyes that are red for her continuous weeping. There are some, however, who have said she appears as an old woman with dirty, rotting teeth and long fingernails. There is not just one Banshee, however, so it makes sense that there are different appearances. Not all Banshees are evil or hate-filled. There are some who just have strong ties to their family and a desire to continue looking over them. The evil ones, however, are wailing as a form of celebration that the death is about to come. It is said that the wailing of a Banshee may only be able to be heard by the person for whom it is intended. So if you hear this call, I truly hope that you have one of the good ones.
Next up at our number 6 spot is the Bunyip, with origins from indigenous Australian folklore dating back to 1812. This monster is said to lurk in the swamps and lagoons while waiting for its human prey to pass so it can pounce. The name Bunyip roughly translates to the devil or evil spirit, and was certainly viewed as such by locals of the time. These terrifying monsters are most often described as being seal-like and measuring 4 to 6 feet long, with a shaggy dark coat, and possessing a loud roar that's heard before their vicious attack. In the early 1800s, an English convict, William Buckley, escaped a penal colony and found himself living with the local indigenous people, for which he later wrote a biography detailing his life. In 1852, Buckley wrote that he saw the Bunyip while living among the Aboriginal people, and according to his account, the Bunyip was an extraordinary amphibious animal with grey feathers covering its back, and devoured a woman from his community. As legend states, they apparently preferred women for their prey. Throughout the 1800s, many discovered unusual bones and fossils at the site of swamps and lagoons, only piquing curiosity of this tale further. Then in 1846, one particular obscure skull was put on display at the Australian Museum for 2 days, at which time hundreds of alleged Bunyip sightings came out of the woodworks, including a group of men who claimed to have seen a stranger disappear while they were on a boat only a yard away from them. So what do you say? Are you feeling brave enough to test out the swamps of Australia to find out for yourself?
In our number 5 spot today, we have La Llorona. The weeping woman is actually named Maria, and she is from Mexico. She has long black hair and is known for her greedy heart. When she was alive, the man she loved would not love her back, and the legend says that because of this, she did some very horrible things. Realizing the terrible things she did in her fit of rage, she ended up throwing herself into the ocean. After her passing, because of her sins, heaven would not allow her in, and instead she was condemned to wander the world in eternity. eternal grief. When people see her, she is usually walking, wearing all white and soaking wet. Legend says that sometimes she snatches people up as she mistakes them for her own children. It is said that she can be summoned by going into the bathroom, turning all of the lights out, and splashing water on the mirror before you say her name 3 times. Try it if you dare.
Coming in at number 4, the Kraken. The subject of many a superstitious sailor, this creature originated from Scandinavian folklore and is depicted as an aggressive, cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging sailors to their doom. Legends say the creature could devour a whole ship and its crew in its entirety, and if that didn't work, it would swim round the ship in circles to create a whirlpool, sucking the ship down into the deep, dark depths of the sea. Though it seems like a death sentence, many sailors would take the risk and approach the beast, as it said huge schools of fish would surround the creature, and I guess they wanted to take their chances. In 18th century, scientists linked this myth to reality by including the Kraken among the cephalopod mollusks in the first edition of Systema Naturae, and it would only be further linked to reality when in 1853 a giant cephalopod was found stranded on a Norwegian beach. After 150 years of research into giant squids and octopi, it's still unclear whether the legend of the Kraken, as is told, was entirely true, but we know for certain that giant squids swim among us every day. And I mean, what do we really know about what lies deep, deep down in the depths of the ocean?
In our number 3 spot today, we have the Papabawa. This evil creature is found stalking the Tanzanian island of Pemba and is one of those creepy beings that has the ability to shapeshift. Sometimes seen as a bat and sometimes seen in human form, the creature prefers to come out at night and anyone is a target, although it definitely prefers men. The legend of the Papabawa has had people on the island scared since the origins of the story, especially a few years ago when there was actually a real-life string of attacks on men in the area which were being tied to this demon. The important part of this one is that those who encounter the evil creature must tell others and spread the word. If they fail to do this, the Papabawa will continue to attack, and we all know that that is just not good. During times when people are worried about being attacked by this creature, many people can be seen sitting outside of their homes at night, often huddled around an open fire with their friends and family, as when people are in their homes sleeping is when the creature most likes to attack.
In the number 2 spot, we have the truly terrifying chupacabra. Derived mainly from Puerto Rico and Mexico, the chupacabra literally translates to goat sucker. This mythical legend is reported to attack and drink the blood of livestock. Oddly, it seems like no one can land on a unifying description, with many in Puerto Rico saying it resembles a more reptilian-like creature the size of a small bear with prominent spines from head to tail. Others alleged sightings from the southwest United States have depicted it as more dog-like. The legend began back in 1975 when a small Puerto Rican town by the name of Moca experienced a devastating loss of their town livestock, finding them drained of their blood by several small circular incisions. Originally, the town suspected the horrors to be linked to a satanic cult, but a few years later in 1995, another 8 sheep were found to have the same fate. To make matters worse, a few months later, a woman named Madeline Tolentino claims to have witnessed the creature, where it would later be found that another 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed, with these animals dropping left, right, and center. It's no wonder locals started suspecting the culprit to be the legendary chupacabra. But what say you? A satanic cult or the work of a blood-sucking creature?
In our number 1 spot today, we have La Ciguapa. The legend of the Ciguapa comes from the Dominican Republic, and it is a group of small feral women who inhabit the mountainous areas. They wait in the shadows, lurking around, waiting to capture lonely men. They have extremely long hair that covers their small, thin bodies, and they also have dark blue skin and backwards feet. They are nocturnal creatures, and because of their feet, it is hard to track exactly which way they are going, if tracking their footprints. Not only do they capture the men in order to take their lives, but it is also said that if you look one in the eye, you'll be bewitched. Legend says that the only way to defeat one of these creatures is to capture them by tracking them at night, during a full moon, and with a black and white dog with an extra toe. That is definitely one of the most specific things I've ever heard, but that is what the legend says, and I'm not trying to take any kind of chances here.
And we're starting off this list today with the Werewolf of Defiance. It's the summer of 1972. Two railroad workers were hard at work on the Norfolk and Western Railway when all of a sudden, one of them, Ted Davis, looked up to see a large wolf-like creature with a wooden board grasped between its paws, which it then whacked the man in the shoulder with before turning off into the bushes to run away like a coward. 5 days later, Ted and his coworker Tom Jones returned to the railway for another day's work, hoping they wouldn't be seeing the big furry monster again. Only they did. Only this time it was a bit of a safe distance away. Not that I'd ever feel a safe distance away from a werewolf, but that's just me. And then they reported the sightings to the police. Right around this time, more and more Wolfman sightings began piling in, and locals began to panic about the potential of being mauled by a 6-foot tall werewolf. Imagine actually feeling that was a possibility. Like you're heading out of the grocery store and you're like, damn, really hope I don't run into a lycanthrope today. That's their life, apparently, in Ohio. Up next, we have the Loveland Frog. This mysterious creature has been reported to have been sighted in Loveland, Ohio. The amphibious creature is said to resemble a bipedal frog, standing upright on its hind legs, measuring up to 4 feet tall. Not that big, but pretty big for a frog, though. Got leathery skin, webbed fingers and toes. You all know how frogs look. And it's also got those iconic glowing large eyes. The first reported sighting of the Loveland Frog was in 1955, when a man claimed to have seen 3 of them on the side of the road holding some kind of strange wand-like device. Again, only in Ohio would you spot 3 large frogs practicing magic under a bridge. I really gotta visit Ohio sometimes. It just seems like such a fantastical place. Again, Narnia got nothing on Ohio. Anyway, since that initial 1955 sighting, there have been several other ones, including one by a police officer in 1972 who reported seeing a creature fitting the description of the Loveland Frog scuttling across the road and then hopping over the guardrail into the Little Miami River. Another officer even claimed to have shot at the creature, but it escaped. Some people believe the Loveland Frog is an escaped exotic pet or mutated frog, while others speculate that it is a supernatural type of creature. At number 8 on the list, we have melonheads. The melonheads are a group of cryptids that have been reported to have been sighted in various locations in Ohio, but are primarily found in the Cleveland suburb of Kirtland. These creatures are said to be small in stature, with large, bulbous heads and distorted facial features. According to legend, they were the result of an experiment gone wrong in which scientists conducted unethical experiments on orphans, resulting in the creation of these strange bobble-headed beings. Some variations of the story also claim that the melonheads are the descendants of a family who suffered from a rare genetic disorder, maybe, that caused their heads to grow abnormally large. Some even say they could be of extraterrestrial origin, which whatever they are, though, I want to see one. I'm telling you, I'm coming to Ohio to go on a full cryptid scavenger hunt, and I'd better see me a weird deformed melonhead. At number 7, it's Bessie. The Bessie Lake Monster, or the Lake Erie Monster. It's a legendary creature that is said to inhabit Lake Erie. The creature is described as a big, similar in appearance to Loch Ness Monster, kinda long-necked, humpback, as well as a serpentine, kind of dinosaur-like body. The first reported sighting of Bessie dates back to 1973, when a duck hunter saw a large serpentine-like creature thrashing in the lake and startled by his gunshots. And since then, numerous sightings have been reported over the years. Some eyewitnesses claim to have seen the creature swimming close to their boats or even on the shore, while others have reported hearing strange, eerie sounds coming from the water. Despite many attempts to capture or study the creature, there is no concrete evidence of its existence. However, the legend of Bessie persists, and many people believe that there is something mysterious lurking beneath the surface of Lake Erie. When it comes to creatures that reside in the water, I gotta say, it seems plausible. We don't spend a lot of time underwater, Lots could be lurking in those murky depths. You never know. Number 6, Mothman of Gallia County. Most of us have probably heard of the infamous Mothman. Large, winged, glowing red eyes. It was first reported in West Virginia in 1966, but one of the most famous sightings of this large flying insect was over the Silver Bridge that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia to the village of Gallipolis, Ohio. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think it's Gallipolis. This sighting happened just a year after the first reported Mothman sighting, and right around the time when the creature was spotted on the Silver Bridge, it collapsed. And some still believe that this mysterious mysterious cryptid was the one responsible. There have also been reported Mothman sightings before other big disasters, which has led some to speculate as to whether Mothman is a bad omen or if it is simply appears as kind of like a warning of impending doom, bad or good. Orange eyes. Now, this is a Sasquatch type creature that could very well be the same type of creature as a couple others we'll be discussing on the list. There are many Sasquatch variations seen throughout Ohio, but this one is famous for, as you could probably imagine, it's got these glowing orange eyes. There have been reports of strange creatures with orange eyes lurking in Ohio, said to reside in the Riverside Cemetery before moving to the woods by Mill Lake. Witnesses described the creature as resembling a large bipedal humanoid with a muscular build and a hunched posture. Its eyes, once again, seem to emit an otherworldly glow. The creature is reportedly very fast and agile and has been known to vanish into thin air when pursued. Some locals believe that Orange Eyes is a Bigfoot type creature, but there are also those theories that maybe a kind of supernatural being or extraterrestrial entity as well. At number 4, we have Dogman. Most Dogman reports come out of Michigan, but there have been sightings in Ohio as well. According to witnesses, the Dogman is a bipedal, wolf-like creature that stands between 6 and 7 feet tall with a muscular build and a snarling dog-like face. The first reported sightings of the Dogman in Ohio occurred in the late 1980s. Since then, there have been numerous other sightings reported in the state. Witnesses have reported seeing the creature hunting in the woods, stalking prey, even running across highways at high speeds. Some skeptics believe that the sightings, of course, may be misidentifications of known animals like bears or wolves, while others believe that the Dogman is a real undiscovered species that is yet to be officially documented by science. Number 3, the Crosswick Monster. Now, there's only one report of this cryptid, but it's quite the entertaining tale. It's like something out of a classic 1950s monster movie or something like that. And it's a pretty famous piece of Ohio cryptid folklore. The story goes that in 1882, two boys, Ed and Joe Lynch, began hearing strange sounds coming from the tall grass of a bush behind them. They were fishing, and then before they had time to think, a large four-legged lizard creature popped out from the bushes and began making its way toward them. The boys tried to make their escape, but it caught the 13-year-old Ed in its mouth and began dragging him towards a large hollowed-out tree. 3 men had heard the boys screaming and managed to make it to Ed's aid before he was pulled into the tree, although he was badly injured. A group of about 60 men were formed, armed with axes and clubs, and they tried to slay the beast, but the creature managed to escape, actually standing on its hind legs at one point. It's pretty horrifying. The group chased the creature, which retreated into a hole under a large hill of rocks. The creature was never seen again. Described as black and white in color and roughly 12 feet in length. Number 2, the Minerva Monster. This has to be one of the most famous Sasquatch sightings in Ohio. In August of 1978, in the village of Minerva, the first sighting of the creature was reported by the Caton family, who'd seen a large hairy creature in the gravel pit outside of their property, looking to be about 300 pounds. It soon became known as the Minerva Monster and terrorized the Caton family on more than one occasion. They described seeing it peering through their kitchen window one night, awful, and when police came to investigate, they saw large footprints around their home with a terrible smell lingering in the air. The creature was also reported to have thrown rocks at their home one day, and they even reported seeing 2 large hairy bipeds on a hill by the strip mine near their property. The family has been adamant about what they saw ever since, and their story has remained consistent. It wasn't just the Catons who had run-ins with the large ape-like creature, though. Other locals began reporting seeing a similar creature in and around the Minerva area around the same time. And that's going to bring us to our number 1 spot, the Ohio Grassman. There's a very good chance that the Minerva Monster and Orange Eyes are the very same creature I'm describing here, as they're all big, all furry, ape-like creatures. Grassman is pretty much Ohio's nickname for Bigfoot, described as a large, hairy, bipedal creature standing between 7 and 9 feet tall. Grassman is said to have human-like face and a muscular circular build. Witnesses have reported hearing eerie vocalizations and howls coming from the woods, as well as seeing large footprints that they believe belong to the creature. The first reported sightings of the Ohio grassman occurred in the late 1800s, but the creature gained widespread attention in the 1970s when multiple sightings were reported in the state. Since then, there have been numerous other sightings reported in the area, while some skeptics dismiss the sightings, of course, as misidentifications of, animals or even hoaxes. Others believe that the grassman is real and he's an undiscovered species.
In our number 10 spot, we have Nessie is real. Okay guys, the Loch Ness Monster is real. At least that's what I think after watching this recent video shot from the air looking down upon the water. There is literally a long neck looking dinosaur in the water, and it has to be Nessie himself. Herself? Is Nessie a girl? This is definitely some footage that has been buried deep by the governments of the world, including the FBI. And why, you may ask? Damn, I don't know. Perhaps the discovery of this ancient creature could mean that there's more magical creatures out there. It could mean that there is a portal to a new world in the lake. Or perhaps it means that the wizarding world of Harry Potter is real. Anyways, this video I think is substantial proof that the cryptid that is known as the Loch Ness Monster is in fact real. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that like button, as it really helps us out. In our number 9 spot, we have the Deep Sea Cryptid. Okay, this footage blew my mind when I saw it. I personally think this is proof of yet another mythical ocean creature slash cryptid that we are unaware of yet. The ocean is so big and mysterious, I bet you even mermaids exist. In August of 2018, the Japan Agency of Marine Earth Science and Technology, when they found something in the waters of Sagami Bay near Tokyo. A big creature with big glowing eyes and a gaping mouth. Now at first it appears to move, but as the camera gets closer, it appears to freeze in place. And so, since we don't see it move much, some people say that it's an illusion of a creature and that it's really just a rock that looks like it has eyes, as humans have a tendency to see faces in inanimate objects. But what if it's a creature that became aware of the fact that it was being watched, and so it froze to look like a rock? This creature legit looks like it stepped right out of Monsters Inc. I don't know. Anyways, this footage could be nothing, or it could be everything, and that's why it's possible that it's being marketed as possibly nothing. In our number 8 spot, we have the Hide Behind. I had no idea what this was before I researched this video, but apparently there is an ancient creature known as a Hide Behind. And these creatures used to hide in forests and were nocturnal, and they would prey upon humans that wander the woods, such as lumberjacks. They are said to be able to conceal themselves. The creature quickly hides behind an object so it's not directly seen. This is how it's able to attack human prey, by stalking them from afar and not be seen. Anyways, now that you know what a hide behind is, this video that was captured by a grandmother certainly shows a creature that looks just like a hide behind. A shadow, if you will. If this video was not staged, and it is real, like they claim, then I definitely think this is proof of some kind of hide behind or mythical creature. Perhaps it's Bigfoot, but certainly this shadowy figure doesn't seem completely normal. In our number 7 spot, we have the Kraken. The giant squid known around the world as the Kraken is an enormous squid-like sea monster originally from Scandinavian folklore. People believe tales of the creature were created after fishermen spotted giant squid out on the water. Anyways, recently something very mysterious was discovered when zooming into the middle of the sea on Google Earth. A strange, large creature that appears to light up and looks to be very large and is creating a wake. Google Earth's measuring tool has shown that the wake is over 250 meters wide. This picture has surely had the FBI concerned, as the internet has been going crazy trying to figure out if that's a
kraken, an ancient dinosaur-like fish, or an alien craft that perhaps crashed into the water or is in the water. Without a doubt though, there's something mysterious going on there. Where is the light coming from, my friends? My vote is for alien craft. That makes more sense in terms of where the light is coming from. In our number 6 spot, we have the alien sea creature. This may be our biggest piece of proof that aliens might live underneath us or in the water. This video captured from a Brazilian beach was buried deep online, probably by the FBI because of its mysteriousness. It showcases a very strange looking creature in the water that looks just like every picture of an alien that I've ever seen. Ever think about where we originally got our idea for how aliens look? Yeah, well, probably from meeting them, or possibly from seeing creatures like this. This creature looks like it has arms and legs and is just walking around the shore and isn't seemingly looking threatening, just going about and doing its thing. It was described as a jellyfish-like monster. If that isn't an alien, then please explain to us what that is. Conclusion? It's an alien sea creature. In our number 5 spot, we have the baby dragon. A video was shot showing a creature in a pond that literally looks exactly like the ancient Chinese dragon that we see in folklore. Or they look like Khaleesi's dragons when they were babies. Game of Thrones, anyone? Anyways, this video is wild. Very, very strange. This creature is exactly like every image of a dragon that I'm sure you've ever seen, and it is just swimming around in the water. Dragons are so embedded into many cultures, and over many civilizations people believed in dragons, and so it just makes you think perhaps they were once real, or perhaps they are real. It's possible though that the old civilizations just stumbled across dinosaur bones that made them think fire-breathing dragons were real too. That's very possible. But in any case, this specific video hasn't been proven to be real, so it's possible that it's fake. But if it were to be real, I'm sure a narrative would be spun around it, because that would be a massive discovery that humans may not be ready for. In our number 4 spot, we have Bigfoot. Look, there are so many stories and supposed sightings of the Mudman, Bigfoot, and honestly, this one is the most interesting one yet. A trail cam was deep in the woods when it captured a giant creature walking through the wood. It might be behind a row of trees, but it is clear as day that this creature is big, whatever it is. It appears to have hands and feet. It doesn't move like a bear, it moves like an oversized human. So this could very well be the best footage of Bigfoot that I've ever seen. Apparently the people that took this footage tend to upload footage of animals and bears and have no drive to tamper with the footage, so a lot of people believe it to be real. Also, apparently after this they set up more trail cams in the hopes of seeing it again, but all of the additional cams went missing. Whoa, that's a smart Bigfoot right there, making sure to watch the humans and get rid of all the evidence. Anyways, I think this is definitely footage the FBI would be worried about, so they themselves could have destroyed the trail cams. In our number 3 spot, we have the Blue Mountains Panther. The Blue Mountains Panther is a creature from Australian folklore that is essentially a giant panther that lives in the mountains of Australia. This panther has had sightings for centuries, however Australia isn't known to have any kind of panther on the continent. Anyways, a picture of what looks like a giant cat-like creature, most likely a panther, was caught on camera, and it's had Australia in a tizzy. It's the Blue Mountain Panther, everyone thinks. It's clear as day that it's a cat-like creature and it looks like a panther. If it is not this mythical creature, then what is it? Would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our number 2 spot, we have Sasquatch. This next footage is really interesting and something I know has been buried because of the sheer amount of people that can confirm its validity. While on a ski slope, a bunch of skiers had to stop as they appeared to see a giant in the woods. Everything you have ever heard about Sasquatch would describe what these people saw. Hairy, ape-like, living in the woods. The footage captured shows it trying to hide, but without a doubt it was seen by many, and that would certainly put a dent in the theory that Sasquatch is a mythological creature. Some people think that our human ancestors or relatives could have survived into the modern era, and so this creature could just be a human ancestor. If this is true, then 1, there must be 2 of them to have continued on the species like this, or 2, if there's only 1, is this an immortal human ancestor from centuries ago? The latter would certainly be cooler. We discovered how to fly in the sky. Perhaps we humans have discovered everlasting life and the general public just doesn't know about it yet. Side thought. In our number 1 spot, an elf. On a First Nation reserve in Saskatchewan, a strange creature was caught on camera that quite possibly the FBI doesn't want you to see. In the video, you see a creature go behind a large rock when the person recording the video turns their light on. It's kinda hard to make out exactly what it is. Some people think that it's an elf, or a fairy, or a wendigo, a type of shape-shifting creature that is evil. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but it appears to be some kind of mythical creature. People have been reporting seeing this monster for thousands of years, and so it makes you think that there might be something to this video, and it could very well showcase something no human has officially been able to confirm before on camera. I hope it's an elf. That sounds way better than an evil shapeshifter. If elves exist, they should just come and live among us. I bet you us humans would accept them. How could we not? They're so cute and cool.
At number 10, we have the Flatwoods Monster, aka Green Monster. So this being has been seen in Flatwoods, West Virginia, and gave it the moniker Home of the Green Monster. It's a 10-foot Frankenstein-like monster in the hills above Flatwoods. It's described as 10 feet tall with a blood-red body and a green face that seems to glow. It was hard to tell by witnesses at the time because of dense mist, but it may also have claws for hands. It was also accompanied by a noxious odor. Now those that saw it were aged between 10 and 17 and were terrified and ran for their lives. The dog that was with them was frightened too, with the tail between their legs. Now some say the creature may have come from a UFO that was sighted 5 months before this sighting, and locals who believe say the red-eyed creature could eat people alive and that they better watch out. So, ooh, maybe. Looks very futuristic and scientific if you ask me. At number 9, we have Aswang. Aswang is a name given to various shape-shifting evil spirits in Filipino folklore. People say it stalks prey in the small rural towns of the Philippines. It is a nocturnal hunter, specifically. During the night, they find prey and prefer children and pregnant women. They appear as regular townspeople by day. An Aswang may have reclusive habits or magical abilities, including the ability to shapeshift into dogs or pigs. They may also walk with their feet backwards, so that's something to look out for. Also, they have a proboscis tongue that they can use to suck blood from their victims. Very gross. And some may make doppelgangers of their victims that return to the victim's home, get sick, and die, to keep it a little more on the DL that they're killing, I guess. Now some people say the folklore was used as an explanation for murders or infant and mother mortality rates, others say it's real. On to number 8, Octoman of the Ohio River. So 5 people claim to see it in the winter of 1959. They say they saw a gray-skinned kind of octopus-like creature. One man reported that something came out of the water and that it was just indescribable. Then another man, a truck driver, called the police and said, "It came out of the water, I can't describe it, and I have never seen anything like it before. All I want to do is get out of here and get on to Indianapolis." Okay. The police didn't seem to take it seriously, but anyone who reported it, they were shaken by it. Around the time these reports were popping up, lights that ran down 2 separate sides of a street on 2 different circuits went out, and authorities couldn't figure out why. So some people say that this Octoman might have triggered that. And then a man described only as a scientist in the news allegedly saw a large hulking creature along the rail of the bridge they were crossing. The description: strange grayish creature with a lopsided chest, ugly tentacles, and rolls of fat running horizontally over a bald head. So let me know if you see that description in the Ohio River. Number 7. Staying in Ohio, let's have a look at Loveland Frogmen, aka Loveland Lizard. So this lovely lizard or frog stands 4 feet tall. It's a frog humanoid figure spotted in Loveland, Ohio. According to legend, a local man reported seeing 3 frogmen with leathery skin, webbed hands, and feet on the side of the road in 1955. He said he saw one wield what looked like a wand that emitted sparks above its head and then ran away. So in 2016, one of these might have also scared 2 teenagers. They were playing Pokemon Go, as we do, between Loveland Madeira Road and Lake Isabella. They saw a giant frog near the lake that stood up and walked on its hind legs. So was it kind of reclusive after people saw its magic, or what happened? What's with the frogmen? I want to know. Really. On to number 6, Menehune. The Menehune are mythological dwarf or pygmy people that live in forests and hidden valleys of the Hawaiian Islands. Apparently, they're great at crafting too. So the Menehune are usually described as playful and even mischievous. They have distended bellies, they're described as, and they are hairy, muscular, and 2 or 3 feet tall with bushy eyebrows over large eyes. Apparently, they also speak in a low hum. This may be because they are shy creatures that sleep in caves during the day and work at night. As I said before, very mischievous. For example, Gloop Gloop Glop said on the Cryptozoology Reddit that they took things from their campsite and returned them later and possibly also stole a piece of cake. Just like a little bit of stuff interacting. But also other stories go that modern Hawaiians mingled with them and that they started using them for labor. And then after that, the Menehune retreated and hid from society because they were kind of being exploited. But historians also argue just about their actual existence, could be saying that it might just be folklore. Some stories go that children who live near the mountains can see them, but adults cannot. A school teacher in Hawaii said one of the kids she taught could see them, and it scared the child. One time the young girl saw 2 Menehune playing an old game with a lava rock and some sticks, and one looked over at her. When they locked eyes, the little girl was terrified, so she went and got a Hawaiian blessing. Felt better then. Then the school teacher herself saw weird lights popping up, and she was told later those were sacred lights. And then others also reported seeing those lights when they had Menehune, or what they thought were Menehune, interacting with them. So what's up? There's a water bottle company that is Menehune, so maybe they make good water. I don't know. But let's move on to number 5, Beast of Bray Road. So this could be a hairy humanoid creature with canine features. It was seen mainly in the 90s in Delavan and Elkhorn in Wisconsin. So local folklore called it a werewolf, but many cryptozoologists called it more of a Bigfoot because of the scientific issues associated with saying a human turns into a wolf, instead saying, no, maybe it just stays a wolf. Yeah. Also, others even just think it's more of a cryptid canine, and other names are the bearwolf and the indigenous dogman. Also, others commented it may be a black bear with sarcoptic mange. This is possible since there is a thriving black bear population in Wisconsin. Although they're more common in the upper third of Wisconsin, they have an expanding population that's below. And all in all, a person would be like, oh, why is there a black bear here, and why does it look kind of like a dog? Look at a picture for yourself, you'll get it. So one person's experience was when they were having a sleepover in the summer. They were playing hide and seek in the dark and saw something huge hunched over in a bush. It didn't appear to be any dog or wolf, as it was much too big to be as small as one of those. Its hind legs were thick and muscular like a man, but tapered at the abdomen and had a head like a wolf or canine. So they asked their dad, what is that scary creature? And when he tried to get a look, he had no idea either, so they all hightailed it inside. As I would too. Even if it is just a black bear with mange. Still something to be afraid of. On to number 4, Beast of Boggy Creek, another beast. And it's also known as the folk beast, or the folk monster, after the town it was reported in. In 1971, a man named Bobby Ford told the town constable that he was attacked at his house by a hairy creature that breathed heavily, had red eyes, and moved very fast. He also described it as 7 feet tall and 3 feet across at the chest. He was treated at a hospital for minor scratches and shock after his alleged attack. His wife, brother, and a hunting companion were also eyewitnesses. Other descriptions of it sound similar to a skunk ape. Those other descriptions said the folk monster smells like a mix of wet dog and skunk, which is the same alleged smell as the skunk ape. The folk monsters also said to swing its arms like a monkey, so maybe a stinky Florida ape. I mean skunk ape. Same thing. It's funny, if you look at pictures of stinky Florida ape, skunk ape comes up, so, you know. On to number 3, Manananggal. So either seen as a man-eating, blood-sucking monster or witch, this Manananggal is described as scary, hideous, and often female. It has wide eyes, long hair, and can sprout fangs and claws. Legends say it also severs its torso and sprouts bat wings to fly off and find its next prey. Its name comes from the Tagalog word tangal, which means to remove or separate. It splits its body to transform and then find its victims. Similar to the aswang, it preys on people who sleep and pregnant women. It is also said to target grooms since it may have been a woman that was left at the altar. So similar to the folklore of vampires, they are said to detest garlic and salt, and so to defeat one you simply find their weaker, lower half and sprinkle some garlic and salt on it. Just salt bay it. Done. Let's move on to number 2, Mokele Mbembe. So the name means one who stops the flow of rivers, and that's because it's probably pretty huge. It's said to be a cryptid that resembles a brontosaurus, and Ivan Sanderson, a biologist, even documented its existence. So maybe not all dinos were wiped out by a meteor. Who knows? It's been spotted in the Congo, and while some say it's like its look-alike the brontosaurus, which was most likely a herbivore, some say it's allegedly a carnivore, with some saying it eats hippos. hippos. Also, anything that can eat hippos is something to fear. I know hippos, they look really cute, but they're so dangerous. They have run as fast as 30 kilometers an hour over short distances and are very aggressive. Their teeth are huge and they could crush you to death under their weight. So if Mokele Mbembe can take them on, you should watch out too. All I'm saying. And if they're running away from it, you could be crushed while they're running away from the Mokele Mbembe. Also, it's just a fun word to say. At number 1, we have Grootslang, or Grootslang. Just roll the R. The Grootslang, also known as the Groot slang, is Afrikaans or Dutch for big snake, because it is one big snake. It is a legendary or mythological cryptid that allegedly lives in the Richtersveld in South Africa. It is said to either be a huge elephant-like creature with a serpent's tail or a humongous snake with an elephant's face and gems for eyes. Either way, very creepy. It's claimed to lure elephants into its cave, aka the Wonder Hole or the Bottomless Pit. Sound very different. So the cave is said to connect to the sea that is 40 miles away, and it's said to have many diamonds. The thing is, this beast is in there with those precious gems, so might not go for the diamonds. Some say it likes gems and explorers can bargain for their freedom by offering enough loot to the Grootslang, sorry. But either way, I'd say don't go out hunting for it, you know?
In our number 10 spot, we have the Maine Hermit. So for a very long time, the people of North Pond, Maine, noticed that things were going missing in their homes. Not jewelry or typical items that you would assume would go missing in a home invasion, but food, such as peanut butter and apples. Since these items weren't of the highest value, the people just let it happen and didn't look too much into it. Until the invasions continuously happened close to, just 1,000 times, and that is not an exaggeration. Eventually, a man by the name of Christopher Knight was caught and was given the nickname of the Maine Hermit. Apparently, this man had been without human contact for 27 years as he was living alone in the woods. He would just steal what he needed to survive. Thankfully, he wasn't dangerous, but scary to think that he had been breaking into those people's homes so easily for years. I bet you they all installed security systems after he was caught. In our number 9 spot, we have the secret tunnels. It has been long thought to be an urban legend that beneath a lot of schools are secret, mysterious tunnels. Well, apparently, that is actually true. These tunnels are said to connect to places or even to lead to hell. Well, I'm not so sure the hell part is real, but the tunnels do exist in a lot of schools throughout the US. From people that have seen them, they have said that the tunnels are dark and cold and truly just the most spooky, probably where the idea of them leading to hell came from. They are mostly abandoned and any source of light that was once in them is completely gone. They were believed to have been used before as perhaps an easy sort of transportation between the buildings and the campus during the colder months, as they are typically in places that experience colder climates. In our number 8 spot, we have the University of Rochester swimming pool. Once upon a time, schools used to have swimming pools and it was a huge attraction. There would be swimming teams and competitions, and then over time they stopped being made with them and they became less popular. They became abandoned even in some schools like the University of Rochester, for example. They housed a swimming pool that eventually was just used for the storage of desks and chairs. The desks and chairs are piled so high that it truly is a creepy sight. Apparently, there are also red footprints along the side of the pool, and some have speculated about them as they look like blood. Was this pool discontinued because of a killing? It's possible. Am I starting another urban legend? Possibly. In our number 7 spot, we have more anesthesia, please. There used to be a rumor that some people, when going into major surgery, would get anesthesia to numb the pain and put them to sleep, but it wouldn't fully work. It was thought to be untrue and just a rumor until a few cases were revealed to have actually been real. Apparently, about 0.02% of people that have surgery fall asleep but still feel the pain as they require more than most. Yikes, that's the most scary thing ever. Truly the worst nightmare you can imagine. They are asleep, but they still feel the pain of being ripped open. Apparently it has been reported that the people that this has happened to, unfortunately, have taken their own life not too long afterward due to the PTSD from the event. Wow, truly horrific. In our number 6 spot, we have the Bloody Mary. No, not the delicious drink that is, fun fact, my favorite beverage. Canadians call them Caesars, but I have heard that the rest of the world calls them Bloody Marys. Anyways, you know that fun children's game where you look into a mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times and a Bloody Mary is supposed to appear? Ah, such fun. Some children's games amaze me. Well, I'm not about to say that this game is real and to run to your mirrors right now to try it. I wish. Actually, no, I don't wish. But actually, this game is based on a real person. You're supposed to see the ghost of Mary, the first Queen of England from the 1500s. Apparently, she was quite violent, and that is where the name Bloody Mary came from, as she is said to haunt and kill the person who summons her in the mirror. I was too much of a scaredy cat to play this game as a kid. In our number 5 spot, we have the Body Farms. Yeah, the name of this one totally creeps me out, and the fact that this actually exists is horrifying. I mean, the main purpose of these body farms, where dead bodies are lined up for observing, is so that scientists can study them. Apparently, such farms have dozens upon dozens of decomposing dead bodies. Apparently, what we can learn from these bodies can help police solve unsolved cases. A lot of unidentified bodies are donated to these farms, as well as people donate them too. I mean, I kinda like the idea of helping with scientific research once I'm gone, but then again, I also like the idea of being put in a cozy bed with all my fave things for eternity too. So, a decision for later, Mel. In our number 4 spot, we have real Halloween props. Do you remember being a kid and walking up to a house to go trick-or-treating on Halloween and looking at the decorations and thinking, what if one of these decorations were real? And then 1 second later, the man sitting on the porch that you thought was a prop scarecrow turned out to be real by jumping in your face and growling at you? Yep, that happened to me, another true story. Apparently there have actually been quite a few cases near Halloween where people have thought real life horrific things have been props. Like in the case of a woman who took her own life and hung from a tree, and for almost a week after Halloween, people hadn't noticed that she wasn't a prop. Well, my inner child is terrified thinking of the amount of times I may have actually stumbled across real things like this. Hopefully I never did. In our number 3 spot, we have the garbage legend. Did you ever get told to not hide in the garbage can because you might be accidentally thrown out with the trash? Well, that was not just some old story that parents told their kids to practice safe play. No, this story actually stemmed from truth. Apparently, a boy was hiding in a duffel bag while playing hide and seek, and his mom accidentally threw it out with the trash, and the garbage man even put him in the back of the trunk, but thankfully, the boy was discovered before the trash was crushed up. Apparently, there are some other stories where people weren't as lucky. That is the most tragic thing. I remember hearing about a mom that turned the washer on when her young one was hiding in it, and that shook me up, but this is honestly just as horrible. In our number 2 spot, we have buried alive. Ever heard that phrase, being buried alive? Yeah, well, some thought it to be an urban legend, just a phrase. But the origin of where that phrase came from actually comes from truth. Apparently back in the day, there was unfortunately quite a few cases where people were buried alive. Yep, so much so that it became common practice to put a bell in the grave so that the person could ring it if they were actually buried alive. Of course, we are better equipped with tools and are able to know these days, and that's not common anymore. But still quite chilling to think that it was once an issue and the phrase came from truth. In our number 1 spot, we have Charlie No Face. There is an old urban legend told about a man named Charlie with no face. Depending on who told the story, Charlie No Face could be a monster, ghost, or someone who had an accident and no longer had a face, but apparently he would walk the streets of Big Beaver, Pennsylvania in the night. People would try to spot him and would drive the streets at night to see him. Well, apparently the story is actually true. No, he wasn't a monster or a ghost, but a man named Raymond Robinson, and was a normal guy that unfortunately had an accident and it disfigured his face. From embarrassment, he would only walk the streets at night so people didn't see him. My bro actually had a horrible accident not too long ago, and not gonna lie, reading about the story had me very emotional. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as this guy and he's alive and recovering, but it certainly gives you perspective as to what's important in life.